Welcome to Sky Team's People First with Morag Barrett.
Welcome to this week's episode of People First. And this week, my guest is the talented Vered Kogan. Vered is an author, a speaker, and transformational coach focused on helping entrepreneurs, organizations, and individuals harness the power of human performance and potential. We are here to talk about her exciting new book, Unstuck, and I am looking forward to diving in and learning more and sharing more with all of you about the insights that you will discover when you order your own copy. So, Vered, firstly, welcome to People First.
Oh, thank you so much. It is such a special treat to be here with you today.
So I know I only scratched at the surface when I described you as an author, speaker, and transformational coach. So tell me something that Google doesn't know about you that would surprise our audience.
I would say something that would surprise the audience might be that I love to make home movies. And what I mean by that is there's something really fun and exciting for me because we travel a lot as a family to then kind of bring all the images and video clips together with music and create meaning. I imagine at some point in our conversation today, we'll come to the topic of meaning because it has everything to do with connection, with leadership, with communication. So I just love to create, and it's something that the whole family can enjoy. We just got back from a trip to Israel over the holidays a few weeks ago, and my nieces and nephews brought out like a scrapbook that we did from years ago and some videos, and it's like, they get to enjoy it for a long time. So I would say that's one little thing. Yeah.
So you shared there meaning, connection, family, which brings me to the topic that's close to my heart, both connection and relationships. So what role have relationships played in your success?
It's everything. We know that influence, and I mean the influence that sticks, yes, authentic, genuine influence, not manipulation or anything like that, is very much built on rapport, on genuine rapport. And rapport is built on an authentic connection where we have trust, where we can really support one another and release attachment to outcomes, which we'll talk about some more. So I think that principles such as liking one another, having rapport, reciprocity, giving without, again, expectation of receiving, and many other principles are the foundations of an authentic relationship.
Okay, well, that I know is going to be at the heart of your book, Unstuck. So tell us about the premise for Unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marshall Goldsmith and I, that I know you know very well and have worked with, decided to write this book because we were at an event together, and we heard and saw a lot of very high achieving professionals truly suffering, not feeling like they're doing enough. There is just so much pressure these days, and the pressure is increasing, competition is increasing. And really just this general feeling of like, wow, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm not getting to where I think I should be, and constantly comparing ourselves to others. So it's just a tough game to play. And so we decided to write this book to help people understand how to overcome the inner barriers to lasting change, and also how to influence others to get unstuck. Because as we've already said, our growth and other people's growth is very much about relationship. It's very much about supporting and uplifting, or opening doors for others, mentoring, sharing ideas. And in order to do that, we get to learn how to do it effectively by utilizing universal research-based principles of influence that can help us to build genuine ethical connection.
I mean, I could possibly have been in that room, not just because we move in similar circles, but because that self-doubt of, am I doing enough? And then the tendency to look across the aisle and think, oh my goodness, they are so much more successful, therefore I am not successful. I've been there and still live that every day. And Sky Team here is 19 years old this year. And it's interesting that you talk about the book Unstuck, and it's got those two lenses, the outside in and the inside out, i.e., how do I help myself to get unstuck or let go of those pressures? But also when I see others who seem to be stuck in whatever quagmire it is, how do I help them? So let's start with that outside in, that looking at myself first. What has your research and writing process uncovered around what keeps us stuck in the first place?
So, what often keeps us stuck when we are looking to grow, yes, when we have some kind of a conscious intention to grow, to evolve, to adapt to some change by choice or by necessity, is this inner battle where part of us wants to grow, wants to evolve into who we are becoming, and other parts of us may be holding us back. And that is often a very unconscious system. It is based on limiting beliefs that we may have adopted a long time ago. The idea is that it's like one part of us says go, another part says no or not yet, right? Just kind of stop because it's not safe. Yet many people don't realize that. So when they feel a sense of not getting the results they want or quickly enough or big enough, they push harder and they push harder. And they push to the point that they are in overdrive. They are over focused on something. They are oftentimes flooded with anxiety and overwhelm, just all kinds of stress stories about where they should be, where they could be, what they did and didn't do. And it can really overwhelm the nervous system. So we look at the first half of the book is really how to work with the inner system. And we utilize a lot of research out of a number of different schools of thought, the main one being internal family systems, or something called IFS, which is about the inner system of parts, different parts of us, right? A part of me this and a part of me that, how to create harmony in that inner system. Because when we have peace, quiet in that inner system, then the stuckness softens. We are able to think more clearly. We're able to feel emotions without being flooded and utilize those emotions as guidance toward the best actions to take. And we're able to have a very healthy balance between doing and being, yes, between driving and pushing and also resting so we don't burn out and negatively impact our health.
See, I knew we were thinking along the same lines. I have a signature keynote, fine is a four-letter word, because invariably as a human being, whether you're high performing or not, and we're all high performing, when you're asked how's it going, we all say, oh, it's fine, or I'm fine. But to your point, inside those different parts of us might be wrestling with the stress, anxiety, burnout, self-doubt, whatever it might be. And how do we get back to equilibrium? So for people listening going, oh, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, that's just Tuesday. What do they do next? I mean, what is that first step in understanding the IFS and taking back ownership and control?
So it's interesting because even the words ownership and control are a little bit paradoxical. Yeah, so we do want to take ownership of our mindset, of our emotional state, of our behavior, clearly. And those are truly the only things we can control in life. And the paradox of it is that at the same time as we're taking ownership and controlling those things, we also want to release control of other things, meaning to take the actions that are aligned with our values, with our goals, to do our best to stay regulated and grounded in order to make the best decisions, to be objective, not operate out of fear, and at the same time to just soften the grip on some of our what we call protective mechanisms like perfectionism or overachievement or helping others, saying yes to the neglect of taking care of ourselves, right? So you can see that all of these wonderful strategies that helped us get to where we are can also hold us back. Yes, it's the ultimate what got you here won't get you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this book allows us an interview um, into what these protective mechanisms are about, where did they come from, how do we identify and release these extreme beliefs, and how do we shift our perspective anytime we're stuck so that we can feel lighter, we can feel more aligned and take action that is, again, directly correlated with what's most important to us, because most of us are blind as to what is actually most important to us. We're operating out of conditioned responses of what we think we should do, right? We think that we should be, get the A's and we should do this and we should do that, when sometimes, again, when that is done to the neglect of self-care, to the neglect of others in our life and connection, it can derail us and really hold us back.
Well, I'm going to assume that you went into the writing process with some self-awareness and understanding of those own tendencies within you. But I'm also aware, having written 3 books now, that whatever baseline knowledge we enter with, it deepens through the writing process. So what did you discover or realize about your own proclivities as you went through the process?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So one of the chapters is really explaining how pushing harder can often, really, kind of hurt us. Yes, where, when we are in overdrive on certain things, it can really impact our ability to make the best decisions and to harm our health. And as I was writing this chapter with Marshall, as we were kind of looking at the research and doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I am in that place where, it actually has been negatively impacting me, and I was completely blind to it. That's the interesting thing. We don't even notice our own behavior because it's just the way we are. So when we're able to step back and gain some self-awareness and understand where our patterns are coming from, then we're able to objectively decide, is this how I want to live or not? And then we become even more integrated people, better partners, better parents, better leaders, and just having more peace of mind.
So insight is one thing. I'm going to get a ton of that. Insight with understanding as to why this is happening, even more powerful. But all of it, like many books, just stay on the shelf unless we do something with it. So give us a tip. What are some of the tactics
Yeah,
that we're going to
absolutely.
discover that perhaps we can start to adopt now and then go deeper when we read the book?
Absolutely. So I can actually guide you through a process if that would be helpful.
Ooh.
So throughout the first chapter, we have exercises in every chapter to identify things, to shift things, and it culminates in a practice that we call internal shift. And it really is a wonderful, simple, relatively quick practice that we can do anytime we feel stuck, anytime there's kind of an inner conflict where parts of us wants to do something, let's say like, get promoted or start a business or lose weight, build a relationship, whatever it might be, and we're not yet able to make that happen in a consistent way. That means that there's some inner stuckness because clearly we know what we should be doing. There isn't a lack of knowledge these days. So if we know what we should be doing and we're still not able to take those actions consistently to get the results, there's always something under the hood. And this practice can help us to uncover that and to shift that.
Okay, yes. I mean, it's that huge gap between knowing and doing every single time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so one of the ways to start that is maybe even to play with you, Morag, if you're
go on
open
then.
to it, if there's anything that you feel a little stuck about in this point in your life. And of course, all of the listeners and viewers can follow the same steps for themselves.
Oh, so I have to think of a thing where I feel stuck.
If you'd like, I can also just kind of guide people generally. It tends to be more fun if there is anything. It could be a little thing where you're kind of like a part of me this and a part of me that, or you just feel like you're just stuck in that inertia. You know, you're taking actions, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and not quite gaining traction yet.
I'm sure that there's loads, but right now, when you put me under pressure, it was like, oh no, I can't think of it. Well, getting back into my fitness routine, because I have a frozen shoulder, which I'm supposedly doing it. Look, see, I can't raise it. And so I'm in that dilemma of, do I go back to the gym anyway, even though I can only do like 3/4 of whatever they ask me to do? Do I wait until this is cured, which with travel means it's going to be February? And in the meantime, I just discovered the Stilton cheese that I'd forgotten I'd bought over the holidays. So I was eating that yesterday and I'm finishing up there's all of this that on here, what you can't see off stage. These are my 6 F's, my priorities for 2026. And one of them is fitness.
Very cool.
And
Okay.
so that would include healthier eating and working out, even if I am a wounded bird with a limp wing. So go on then. Is that somewhere where I'm wrestling with it's easy to stay stuck and just mooch about in bed and just not get up? A bit of me pictures going to the gym and running on the treadmill because I can do that. At the moment, the sloth morag is winning.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is perfect.
Okay, good. Because
Because
you
it
see,
feels
in
like
my
it's a
head, I'm comparing myself to everybody else and thinking, is this important enough? Is this big enough? Will people be interested? Like, stop grading. We're going
Yeah,
with
and
this
we
one.
all have our version of that, whether it's in the fitness area of our life or the relationship or the money or the work or anything else, right? The
Okay.
idea here is anytime something feels like it's out of harmony or we're navigating some big decision, we don't know if to go path A, path B, or we're just overwhelmed by something. The idea is that rather than just focusing outward and pushing through and taking actions, we want to first become curious about our inner world. Because if we're not yet taking those actions consistently, there's got to be a reason. Because every behavior has some positive intent for the parts of us that are driving our behavior. And research shows that upwards of 95% of our decisions are based in the automatic unconscious system. So, this system of parts. And what I mean by parts is like the inner voices, right? So we have
Oh,
these voices
yeah.
that are telling us, you know, we should do this, we could do that, we're not good enough, we are not whatever enough, right? All of those voices are inner parts. They're not our true self with a capital S. Yes, this true core authentic self. So this technique is really about giving a microphone, so to speak, allowing these parts to express what they need us to know, why they are present, why they are showing up. There's some guidance that they have for us because anytime we feel stuckness, it is a signal. It is a signal that something is out of alignment, and these protective systems are really doing their best to keep us safe. Now, these protective parts are essentially children. They're essentially children. They're parts of us that were stuck in time at some point when we had some experience and couldn't navigate the emotions of that. We couldn't process the emotion. So that energy got stuck. Yeah. So it might be a belief that we have about something. It could be an emotion that's kind of stuck. And yet these programs are driving our behaviors. So let's say someone who has a fear of public speaking, which is very common. Oftentimes it's directly correlated with some event, maybe very minor event that happened in early childhood where something was said or some story was being given by that individual and their unconscious mind accepted it. And so that started to drive their behavior, right? And so this inner protective system is incredibly loving, incredibly protective. So anytime we feel any, let's call it negative or unpleasant emotion, it really is just our body's way of saying, hold off a sec, we might not be safe. And
Mm.
when we tune into that emotion, as we're going to do right now, very, very simply, and create harmony in that inner system, again, very simple process that I'll guide you through, we're able to access a higher guidance, our own intuition, which many of us have completely blocked off.
Okay. So in my dilemma, where do I go next then? Because I
Okay.
know the logic of I need to work out and eat more healthily. I have the excuses and I have the learned aspiring athlete versus perspiring athlete tendencies.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, so I'll describe the process. We've nicknamed it SHIFT as an acronym, just making it easier to remember and to use. And SHIFT stands for, the S stands for stop and scan. And we'll talk about what that means. Essentially, it's going inward to just notice what voices or physical sensations, emotions are present, really, just to kind of notice what's going on in our inner system in this moment. Then we go to the H in shift, which is really to harmonize that inner system, which is really to access a more grounded state where our nervous system is more coherent, our body is in a more synchronized state, which allows a whole brain state. And physiologically, we're able to be able to feel calmer and to be able to uh, be more objective. The next step in shift, the I, stands for inquire. And what we're going to do is we're going to get kind of an unbiased perspective, an outside perspective on your issue to be able to see what insights might be available to you from that perspective, because that lights up different parts in our brain that we may not be able to access otherwise. And then we focus back in our heart and focus on what really matters here, going to our core values, because anytime we're not fulfilled or experiencing some negative emotion, one of our core values is violated by ourselves or others. So we're going to shine a light on what is most important. And then from that place, take action, take aligned action. That's the T in
The T. Okay. So I love that acronym of SHIFT, especially coupled with the title of Unstuck, because to your point, it's the before and the after that you're driving to. And it's easy. I can see how in coming unstuck, depending on the issue at hand, the desire that I'm reaching for, a different letter of the SHIFT acronym or different letters, different combination, maybe taking priority and muddying the waters. So it allows for flexibility as I
exactly.
choose those next steps. This is powerful.
It is, because any change, whether it's going from, one state of health to another, or one job to another, one home to another, yes, any change is, point A to point B through a transition. So if I only, let's say, lose the weight, or let's say start an exercise regimen, why do most people not stick with that? Why is it kind of like then a few weeks later we go back to the old patterns? It's because we haven't uncovered the root resistance to that, the parts of us that may not believe we're safe in doing that. And so this is why change often doesn't stick, whether it's in organizations or personal change. We know this, yes, change is hard. So the idea is we want to allow ourselves to gain the psychological realignments, the mindset shifts, to be able to sustain the change, to be able to gain these new resources so that we could not only sustain our new state, but also prepare us for additional change and additional change, right? So we continue to expand our perspective, to gain wisdom, because point A to point B without the mindset shifts is really just an invitation to repeat the pattern again and again and again. And this is why people lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. They may break up with somebody and then have another relationship, which is kind of like the past relationships, or the same boss, right? The same stuff repeats. So the only way to break these unconscious patterns that are driving our behaviors and ultimately our results is by going inwards to listen, to nurture these inner parts, to help them feel safe, to kind of let go of these protective mechanisms that we may not need anymore because we're not little kids anymore. They might have served us when we were 2 or 3, they may not serve us as adults that are desiring, let's say, to be healthy or to have a fulfilling career, relationship, or anything else that we deserve to have.
So we entered this conversation with you reminiscing about being at an event with Marshall, with high-performing leaders, and being observers of how they were stuck in their own way. So I'm curious, in terms of the book, is the audience for established, successful leaders, mid-career and onwards? Who are you hoping will grab a copy at the airport or from their favorite bookstore?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really individuals at all levels. As you know, Marshall and I work with CEOs, right? I coach CEOs like Marshall, and they have their own stuckness patterns. Oftentimes, the very things that got them again to that level, pushing forward, controlling whatever that might be, might not serve them moving forward, or certainly not serving their health and well-being, or keeping them stuck in something that is just not meaningful to them anymore, and it's hard for them to reinvent themselves into something that is even more meaningful. Or it could be people that are just graduating from school and are feeling stuck in what's going on in today's world. They are not sure what to pursue. There's so much competition. They might be in transition, or anything in between.
Okay. How can people learn more about you and your work, and of course, this exciting new book?
Well, they can go to momentuminstitute.com. They can visit my YouTube page, and also connect with me on LinkedIn. We're going to have lots of wonderful posts. I will guide people through the technique, as hopefully we'll get to do now together, if you're still open to that. And they'll get to experience this for themselves.
Fantastic. I'll make sure all that information is in the show notes. And he said slow notes, the show notes below. So please make sure to click through and click the little bell to make sure you don't miss future episodes. But Vered, thank you for coming and sharing just a little glimpse of the goodness and the richness that will be in Unstuck. And thank you for letting me to think through the first steps for helping me to get unstuck. I appreciate you.
Of course, happy to help.
Thank you so much for joining Morag today. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you learned something worth sharing, share it. Cultivate your relationships today when you don't need anything before you need something. Be sure to follow Sky Team and Morag on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you have any ideas about topics we should tackle, interviews we should do, or if you yourself would like to be on the show, drop us a line at info@skyteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again for joining us today, and remember, business is personal and relationships matter. We are your allies.